Hi, welcome to Conversations with Regina. I'm Regina, and you are you. I'm so excited today. I love my guests that we've got today. And oh my God, and we're celebrating Earth Day, and it's just going to be fabulous. So let me get down, take care of the business. Oh my gosh. This whole show is brought to you by Raised Rose Coffee, which is I'm the sole proprietor of. And it's online business, and also I do a lot of local stuff around here. The end of the pandemic, that'll put me basically out of the coffee shop business, and so I'm just a coffee roaster now, and that's being wonderful for me. And so go online, check out my coffees, and we ship all over the country, and some into Canada. I have to use different rates of shipping than what's listed, so you have to contact me personally to ship into Canada or any place else outside the US. Anyway, let's move on to, my channel here is Conversations with Regina. And, we do this weekly show every week, and every once in a while I put up something else. And so you remember to like it, everything's the algorithms, and subscribe and ring the bell, stay notified. So do that stuff and help me out, help you out. And now you know what I'm doing. You get the notifications when I put a story up. After last week, you guys all asked me to do a story. So I put a story up. It was old, but, it was fun. It's still a good story. Anyway, I'm checking chat now. Oh my God, there's like 15 comments now. Holy smokes, look at everybody that's here. Oh my God, Christy and Casey and Louise and Simone. Hi, you guys. Of course, I said hi to you before in the chat. And then there's Sarah. Hi, sweetheart. And oh my gosh, who else? Lara West, Baglin. I thought you were in the green room. So, all right. Hi. How are you doing? So, thank you so much. And Jessica Dean. Hi. Have I got everybody? Mind just is like, whoa, I got so much going on here. When I start these, mine's like, oh my God, names go away sometimes. So anyway, good to see everybody. Thank you for coming. And now, without further ado, I would like to introduce my friend, my newer friend, although we've been friends now for a while. And gosh, I get so much out of listening to Lara talk about, her world, the spirit world and the natural world. And, and the reality of it is both of us feel that's pretty much combined into one thing. And so I'm going to bring her into the stream now. Hey, Lara.
Oh, there you are. Hi.
How are everything?
Our everything is great.
Excellent.
Hello,
so are
everyone
you ready
in the
for
chats?
a big show today? What's that?
Oh, I just said hello, everyone in the chats. I snuck in there for a second while you were opening everything up and just kind of like said hello and all that.
Yeah, I was just giving you a hard time about being in the green room.
I know, and I'm so serious all the time.
Oh, yeah, I'm dead serious all the time. So you want me to give you the screen for a couple of minutes, and you got 2 minutes. Weren't you going to sing a song now?
Oh, hey, yeah, I could open up. I had a song to honor the earth that I wanted to play, a drum song,
Oh, right.
a
That's what it
Cherokee
was.
morning song.
Did
Well,
you
it's not
forget about it?
morning. Hey,
Did you forget?
no,
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't know when you were going to ask me to do it. So, but I'm ready. I'm always ready. Sort
All
of,
right.
kind of.
Well, let's do this, and well, then we'll get the conversation going.
Sure. Sounds good. We're going
Excellent.
to start Earth Day right with a song from Mother Earth. Hey, aha. Oh, I'm by myself. All of a sudden, I feel kind of like, come back, Regina. Oh, she
I'm
didn't
just
need to
leaving,
leave.
so you got the
Yeah,
whole
just
thing
leave it.
to
You
do
do it.
your
All of a sudden,
song.
I feel like really stressed out by myself on the internet.
I'll stay here with you if it would make
We're
you more
supposed to
comfortable.
be together in this, not all individual.
Okay, I'm here with you.
Okay, I understand. This is a Cherokee morning song. Kate was shared with me by a Cherokee elder that I know who lives somewhere in the middle states. I forget which one. Anyways, I met her about 4 or 5 years ago, and she's like a spiritual elder to me. So she shared this song. It sang at all the circles that I go to often, and the song is a way to start the morning or any time during the day you can stop, and it's just to acknowledge our Mother Earth and give respect to that. All life is sacred, and we honor it by setting a good intention for the day. If we do that each day, then we'll be helping that our Mother Earth, the animals, each other, all people. We'll be walking a good path. So I like to start my day that way. So okay, I'll start off with 4 beats to honor everyone in the circle.
Cool.
Usually we sing it for 4 rounds. I did it twice, and I just closed with the main verse again. So that's okay.
Nice. So, yeah, that's way cool. That's a beautiful way to start the day, and that's a good way to start this chat. So let's get rolling. So,
Sure.
Obviously you're of indigenous descent, and I think everybody knows that.
Well,
but you want to talk
I wanted to
a
just
little
say
bit about
I just want to
what's
say
that?
I'm very much of mixed descent, not just Indigenous. And in truth, I'm most Norwegian.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
I have Ojibwe blood that runs in me from uh, somewhere in the Winnipeg area. However, colonization kind of stole that record from my history. I don't know those relations. I just know word of the mouth through family member of a couple different that I have this connection here. So I'm an ally of Indigenous people as much as I am a part of them myself. I felt the connection and the calling for
Uh-huh.
most of my life. And only in the last number of years is when kind of coming out as Two Spirit, as a trans woman, is sort of around the time I really found out my Indigenous heritage, you know. So I just wanted to say that. I don't want there to be any confusion that I'm, quote unquote, Indigenous to the core, being, my family and my relatives directly. It's rather indirect, but it's in my heart, and that's who I am. I
Excellent.
just wanted
Okay.
to
Well,
say
thank
that.
you for clarifying that.
Mhm.
Um, but you feel this great connection to the planet and to that spiritual way of life, the culture.
Absolutely. I
Uh,
always have.
yeah.
I didn't understand it for a very long time, but, it was always there and always sort of steering me in a certain direction like life does. And
Right.
yeah, like we were
Well, that's,
talking, go ahead.
oh no, go ahead. I
I was just going
interrupted.
to say, like, we mentioned before I came on about how things just, if you set the right intention and you have good thoughts, things just sort of always come along and and follow on your path that sort of guide you to a certain place. Well, that's pretty much my life story in a lot of ways, being guided to different things. And my connection with the earth, what I feel is personal to me. I can't speak for anybody else, but I really hope we can explore that today.
Well, I think so because I mean, my intention is to explore that, and so part of what draws us together, you and I, is the fact that I worked for a tribe for 15 years in the biological field. I was a fish biologist for one of our local tribes here. And they came up with this concept of first foods and that everything needed to be protected that was in that list of food. Roots, huckleberries were large, and I've only hit 4 here. Oh my God.
What?
I was thinking there was 5, but I think it's only 4. You know,
For
the
what?
4 foods: salmon, venison, roots, and God. Now my mind goes blank again. It's getting left. Well, there's only 3 food. No,
No, there's 4 food
huckleberries
groups.
is the other huckleberries.
Yeah.
Because huckleberries are a real a real hoot around here when it gets to be huckleberry time, and not everybody gets up out of the valleys where it's hot and goes huckleberry picking up at 4 to 6,000
I
feet.
I think we call them gooseberries or elderberries or blackberries around these here parts where I am. At least I'm thinking of the same berry.
No, they're in the gooseberry is in the same family, but huckleberries are like a smaller relative to the blueberry,
Oh,
and
okay.
they're unique in flavor. And
I'm still learning how about all of Earth's medicines and the berries
yeah,
especially.
I was thinking that huckleberry was like because blueberries are so much more predominant in the east than they are out here.
Oh, they're everywhere in Northern Ontario. Wherever you go, you'll pretty much find blueberries. There's
Yeah.
a lot. The most common berry that seems to be out,
Yeah,
everywhere
our
you go.
soils aren't acidic enough out here, and so the huckleberries need to be up in a pine forest where the pine needles are creating more acid in the soil,
Oh yeah.
and so, uh, but anyway, it's one of that tribe's first foods, and aside from everything else, much sought after.
Blueberries and Labrador tea, they seem to go hand in hand. They're always together. We always, things you can make tea out of. It just came to me when you were saying that. There's a friend of mine made me some blueberry herbal tea once. The chiropractor likes to do herbal things that I
Well, a little technical
and
difficulties
he made up
here.
tea things that with different herbs, and there was Labrador tea and blueberry leaves and blueberries and I think a few other berries too in there. But anyways, I'm sidetracking you.
Well, that's interesting. I remember going out camping when we were kids out on the Washington coast, and the streams, the little tributaries that flowed directly into the ocean through those cedar forests were almost red in color, and I called that everything tea. The water was perfectly fine, and I would just drink that, scoop up a cup and heat it up on the campfire, and that would be my everything tea.
Oh, that's cool. I'll have to try that.
Well, you got to hit the right.
I might borrow that phrase, everything tea. I mean, we could call some of the different brews that I've been people have shared with me, and they're kind of like, yeah, everything.
Yeah. Everything that falls in the damn river or the stream. The stream was about as 2 foot wide, I think. And
what are you drinking? I'm drinking everything tea. Oh, how'd you come by that name? Well, a friend of mine talked about everything that falls in the river. It all flows downstream, eventually passing each and every one of us, and we all get a taste of it. Nature's kind of like that way, shares everything with us.
Well, back then, I didn't have problems drinking directly out of a stream, and nowadays I'm not sure I would. I'm a lot smarter or something, or too many cases of beaver fever. I don't know.
Well, it depends on where you are. Is the water running? What does it look like? Is it clear? Is there can you see minnows and fish in the river, creek, or whatever? You can tell if it's alive, the water.
In that particular creek, it wasn't clear because it was like tea. It was not clear water. It was colored. That was why I got.
It's flowing from a mountain somewhere, right?
Hills. If it flowed one way, it would go. If it was up higher, it would flow back into the lake that was just on the other side of this hill, and out here it flowed into the ocean where we were, because we were right at sea level.
We have so many rivers and creeks and streams in Northern Ontario. They just seem to be endless everywhere. And if you go like away from the city, away from vehicles and construction and human influence, mostly all of those streams, with some few exceptions, are good to drink out of. You just have to make sure that it's clear. Well, it doesn't even have to be clear, that it's water that's moving, that's coming from it filters through the soil, eh? And
right.
Yeah.
But I remember I had a filter, I could pump and force water through a pump. And one day I remember filling my whole cruise water jugs at noontime, and then we started walking up the stream again, and it wasn't 20 feet from where I had filled up the water. There was a big old moose head,
Oh,
all rotted and whatnot. You
well,
don't
let's
know
hope
what's
there
up
was
the
enough
stream.
soil to filter that out.
Well, that's why I was using a pump with a filter on it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's usually the way I do it anymore. So, and besides that, a pump is lighter to carry than a bottle of water.
Oh, yeah. You spent a lot of years on the reserve doing your salmon preservation, or what would you call that, what you were doing?
Well, on one river, it was a reintroduction. On another river that I worked on, it was mostly it was reintroductions, because all the dams on the Columbia and Snake River have taken away the habitat of the lower river, and then the upper rivers are just destroyed by farming and whatnot, and temperature is a big deal, and so it's a multi-level kind of restoration of the watersheds to get these fish to come back. I mean, the lower dams all have fish ladders, but the water doesn't move fast anymore because of the dams, and so we have to make it to where the fish can move through that slack water and be comfortable. And then the irrigators and whatnot on the tributaries, on the minor rivers and the tributaries, have taken so much water that the water's now too warm. Like the spring should come back in April and May, and like on a dry year, you're worrying about water. The irrigators are taking the water, and then because there's so little water that it gets up into the 70-degree range, well, that fish is not going to spawn until August, and they need to get up into the headwaters, and that warm water creates a fungus on their skin that will literally eat them alive. And so, there's all these different facets to it that are a little more than just meets the eye. And then there's the agencies that think of the rivers as a water transport system to try.
Well, that's the thing, eh? People, our society in general, like our communities, they only see water, the fish, the animals, the trees as commodities rather than something that's alive that needs our care.
Right.
And well, while you were speaking, I thought of a documentary I watched. I've seen a few about this, but you talk about the water and how people are, industries are siphoning the water out for irrigation, for different things, for agriculture, for whatever they're doing. And my God, it happens in Canada a lot, but there's a lot less of a population here, right? In the States, like the main rivers that flow through the States, from, I guess most of them kind of flow north to south, like the Mississippi and the Nevada, where the Grand Canyon is. When they get to the Gulf of Mexico, there's no water left in the river. It's all been siphoned out in a lot of cases. So, and I get what you're saying about the temperature of the water, and that it's not flowing as, and the fish need that kind of environment to keep the water cool. So that's what they evolved in. And now it's changed in a short time because of man.
Well, the other thing to consider is the fact that before the European settlement of this continent, the rivers were sources of water for trees. And so you get this riparian growth, which was
Yeah.
a different kind, but a lot of times it shaded the rivers, the tributaries and so there'd be 100% canopy cover and sunshine would never hit the river. But now with settlement and the many towns, like both this town that I live in and the town down 30 miles away, the closest big city, are both on major rivers in the area, and so they clear everything out of that riparian zone, and then it just heats up. So you've got a lot more pollution in the river just from sunshine.
So it runs through the city, right?
Yeah.
And it also picks up, in a city, it's a concrete jungle, and all the water just, instead of soaking into the ground, because there's so much concrete and there's so much control put on runoff, it's all directed. Instead of letting it go into the land, it just gets funneled into ducts that take it, and a lot of times just straight into that river. And it picks up a lot of unwanted. I'm going to be polite and not use. I'm not really a particularly good activist. I'm not the kind of person who can go and be loud for nature. I'm more of a quiet activist and just from the heart. So I like to think of things in a good way somehow and find good in things. But at any rate, I know that in our city, everywhere you look, water runs into the ditches, that runs into the creeks and the rivers, that runs into the lake.
Right.
And untreated. Can't be good for the fish or the plants that are near it.
And that's only one part of it. I mean, here in this town, we have dikes built on both sides of the river. Rather than that water getting to spread out, slow down during a high water event, it makes for more water in a contained area and does more damage and washing out the dikes, and it just whips through and doesn't get the opportunity to replenish the aquifers that many of us drink out of.
Yeah.
Or
we just don't seem to get it. I don't know. Humankind is so preoccupied with owning things and controlling things, and that we don't seem to get how interconnected we are with everything.
Right. And so I'm going to take a moment and read my first quote.
Oh, cool.
From Aldo Leopold, who wrote the Sand County Almanac many years ago, and it's still like a Bible for ecologists and environmentalists. We abuse the land because we regard it as a commodity belonging to us. When we see land as a community to which we belong, we may begin to use it with love and respect.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when we build is we're thinking of what a pleasant place to live, and this river here can withstand our intrusion. But we're not being respectful of a living organism, because I've walked in enough rivers for enough years. When I walk that river day after day or week after week or year after year, you start realizing that this is a living entity, even though it's just water passing through. There's creatures in here that have a right to life as well. And
even the water itself, thinking about, I remember, I don't remember how long ago I saw this, but science is sort of catching up to spirit. a lot of things we don't really understand from spirit, but science is trying to find a way to link those two and help us understand spirit in a way. And that's a slow moving thing, but it's interesting. Some scientists did a study about the water, and they tried sharing good things and negative things, like positive and negative, emotional things. They tried to show that, does the water feel? In fact, an elder asked me that once, and I was perplexed by the question. I at the time, in my innocence, I said, well, the water, I naively said, it only feels love, kindness. I couldn't imagine it being like hurt or sad or angry or anything like that. And then I saw this study by scientists, and it's been studied a few times now. And what they found was, I don't remember. I'm not a good one for scientific stuff like this, but I could share that they showed it a picture of Hitler and the swastika and what it represented. They showed it the water, and the water reacted. And the kind of it changed its chemistry composure to make a picture that you could actually see under a microscope. So when you showed the water these kind of dark and dreary and sinister sort of things, it gave us this picture. And then they showed it love and kindness, and lo and behold, the water changed its crystalline structure, and it became absolutely beautiful. So the contrast, water apparently feels and can change its chemical makeup in a way to show you what it's feeling. Just like, we're all pretty emotional as humans. Apparently the water is too. And it has all the emotions that we do. I've been learning, I find, we think of animals as being, limited and not having certain kind of character traits like humans. But a lot of times I think what we really need to do is change how we look at things.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit the other day when we were talking about, I was calling it anthropomorphologically changing the way we look at animals and not keeping them wild. And you brought up the fact that it was a good thing to do it that way, because then that puts us all on a equal footing, so to speak. That makes us humans and animals are equal because we share the planet. And just up the road a bit here on the Nez Perce Reservation, you're driving down the highway and you see these signs about rock formations that are anthropomorphologically, given animal names and whatnot to rocks that, talk about the rocks or the animal's character, and it's really cool to stop and check these out and see, some of the rocks have eroded. Mostly it's basalt though, and you can actually see the shapes and whatnot. And it just kind of goes to show that thousands of years, these people thought about animals in a completely different way than what we do today. And they were able to work and live side by side. You don't see a lot of stories about, oral history of grizzly bear attacks on native peoples.
And I've wondered why for years.
Right. But when Lewis and Clark came through, there was all these encounters of them trying to conquer nature.
I have a theory.
Right.
So it's fear-based society that come from the West, from the East. The European settlers brought fear here. The animals feel us. Contrary to popular beliefs, I believe in my whole heart that they feel us. And I've had the experience on so many occasions that um, if you view something with fear, you act a certain way, right? Accordingly. Obviously, if you carry fear in you, then you're going to behave in a certain way around a grizzly bear. Well, I know I kind of flip it around. We're visiting their natural habitat,
Right.
and I need to respect the bear, not necessarily fear the bear. In fact, I would put it, we need a healthy fear of the bear, not an unrealistic fear that all bears are going to eat you. They don't. I've been around bears my whole life, and I talk with them like
Right.
I'm having
Right.
a conversation with you right now, Regina. Amazing that way. They tend to just leave you alone for the most part.
Uh-huh.
It's when I interact in a negative way with them that I start to have problems with them. And isn't that maybe one?
Well, you wouldn't go out and go a little further north of where you are up to Hudson Bay and hang out with the polar bears, though.
Well, no, I don't mean it like that's a healthy fear. Like
Yeah.
respect them, give them the space they need, and
Right.
they'll return it in kind. Like the animals teach us these things if we let them, if we look
Right.
and watch them. And the indigenous people of North America noticed nature. They looked around them, and this is just my kind of interpretation or understanding how I understand those oral teachings and traditions. But it's all about finding our place in this world, and like the bear, the wolf, the seven teachings. They came from understanding the animals, from understanding the birds, from understanding the mountains and the trees and the rocks, and our place is really a small part in this world. We're not as big as we think we are.
Right.
Anyways,
So true.
Yeah. I think, can I do I had a saying that I wrote actually, to try and for me to describe kind of a meditation, but an intentional one to acknowledge the earth. So I would like to share it. Can I do that?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So I wrote this a couple of years ago, and I wrote it in the springtime, like it's spring now. And after a long winter sitting cooped up in the home, it was nice to be out, get a chance to be out in nature again. So I guess this is what came to me. I posted it with a picture of a little small mountain stream meandering through some rocks. The actual sound of that water trickling down through the rocks was really peaceful. And this is what I wrote. Take some time to just let nature sing its healing song. Sit quietly with nature and look around you. Look into the depths of the water. Let it flow in your heart. Reach out and touch the earth beneath you. Let her stir your soul with beautiful healing. Feel the gentle breeze that's always changing. Take its breath of all it's revealing. Nature's song, a heartbeat worth feeling. Nature's song, a heartbeat of our Mother Earth. Happy Earth Day.
Very good. Nice. Nice.
Thank you. I think about, it feels inaccessible. Mother, our Earth. This is a day to recognize the Earth. What can I do to bring about real change? I don't feel like an activist who's going to go and stand with pickets and everything like that. And how can I connect with nature? What happens if I'm in the city? I don't know if we talked about this before in our earlier chats, about how do you connect with nature so you can feel something when you're living in a big city. There's got to be a way for us to reconnect with Mother Earth.
Well, I think that's what parks are for.
Yeah.
We did touch on this the other day, and there was a story I wanted to share that I didn't get a chance to share with you, and it was about falcons. The peregrine falcon was at one time endangered, and my, I think they've made a bit of a recovery, but they have found where they were hanging out in New York City and building nests on some of the taller buildings.
Oh yeah.
And so I think, what happens if you want to reconnect and you live in that is be open to nature, open your eyes, because there's still sky above you. There's still air, how do we, because without that, if we don't protect the air, if we don't protect the sky, if we don't protect the water, if we don't protect the wild, pretty soon we don't have it.
Yes.
And our life becomes, kind of rough to handle without air and water. At one time in the 70s, the Cuyahoga River caught on fire.
Oh God, yeah. I've seen documentaries about that. It's crazy.
Yeah. And so and there was a time that the Potomac River that flows through our capital, in Washington, D.C. at one time was unfit for fish.
Yeah.
Methane gas. Pardon?
Methane gas. I've seen documentaries about this, like even in Florida, in the northern, where the tundras melt, like unthawing, methane gas is causing huge issues that probably most people don't even realize. But methane gas has caused just catastrophic fires right closer to home here. Like I watched a documentary in Florida where all the oil fracking is going on. There's a lot of places where you're left with all these gases that used to be in balance with under the ground there, but because you remove water to do the fracking, now it's replaced with methane gas, and boom, or it bubbles up to the surface and goes into the rivers, like you said, and you could hold a match and light it.
Right. And these are things that we don't, be in our protection. Sometimes I think we need to be vocal and to speak up about some of the injustices to the planet. It's like the tar sands in your country trying to come down through our country to the southern ports down there and disrupt wildlife all the way in a frickin' pipeline.
Well, there's many earthquakes in areas all throughout wherever, like our out west, where they're doing all that oil mining on,
Yeah.
and the tar sands and all that. It's caused like measurable earthquakes from the disruption.
In your country there?
Yep. I've seen lots of documentaries about it. It's not talked about, but it happens. And there are a lot of ramifications for it.
Right. Well,
Like
I've
severe
seen stuff where people turn their faucets on in their homes that once produced water are now having gas come out from fracking.
Yes. Yeah.
And so how do we change the way that we think about things? Because it's not just us. I mean, the best thing that I think that we can do is to recognize the fact of we need to change and then start living that change, just you and me. And then if you and I start living that change, which I think both of us already have, then we get together and start trying to influence others.
A conversation with Regina, like we're having right now, and we're acknowledging these things. I'm slowly taking responsibility for myself. I'm slow to come around, to recognize these things, that are, I can't say I'm 100% there. It's a work in progress. I try my best today. I work at it. I keep adding things slowly to the things that I actually really do every day, that respect and honor and bring my life in balance with nature around me. But that's a work in progress. I'm so human, right? It's hard.
So yeah. I mean, the beauty of it all is in the 4 agreements, it talks about being the best that you can be, but it doesn't say you have to be perfect every day. It's progress. It's not perfection. So you might recognize this, but we continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. If we just do that every night when we go to bed, and work more about, think more positively about how we can help our planet. Does that mean I'm going to stop eating beef? I'll stop eating beef out of a feedlot. Get an organic chunk of beef instead of a feedlot chunk of beef, because a feedlot is like not a good thing for our planet.
Yeah, those are the kind of things we
way
can
to
do.
Raise cattle.
Yeah.
And there's just little things like that. If one person changes today, and 2 people change tomorrow, and 4 people the day after that, pretty soon, when if it doubles every day, we've got something going. And does it happen that way? Sometimes it does. And the best we can do is the best we can do. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I still use plastic bags, for God's sake.
We're using less and less of those kind of, non-renewable things like that.
Yeah.
We have still a long ways to go. Yeah.
That stuff never degrades.
No.
The plastics. It takes thousands of years for it to break down.
And what's rolling around in the oceans is just insane.
Oh my God.
And how, it's affecting the fish in the oceans. And you're right, it doesn't disintegrate. It takes hundreds or thousands of years.
Those big cruise ships will drop a ton of plastic, islands out there as they're just cruising from one port to another. I mean, any of us that are responsible environmentalists, in my opinion, shouldn't be taking cruise ships anywhere, but we think it's so harmless to get on one of those big boats and float someplace, but they leave a wake of destruction behind with all the plastics and on the reefs and whatnot.
And if you think about it too, well, I think I kind of get why a lot of people really gravitate to those, because it gives you a chance to get out and be in nature in a way, be out on an ocean and maybe see different things. But we create this great big carnival ship with thousands and thousands of rooms in it, and we go to the casino and we go to flashy shows and we like stay isolated in that little bubble. I don't even understand how it's connecting us to nature. It's more of an extension of living in a big city. It's like we need to recreate it everywhere we go. I don't understand. When I want to get away from stuff, I don't want to go to something like that. I want to well, it's just me. I want to get out in nature. I'll leave the city and drive somewhere and get out of the car and walk and put my feet in the water, or sit by a little stream. That's to me connecting. The Carnival cruise ship sounds like a fast train to insanity for me. I don't even know how peaceful
I am so with you. I want to be on a small boat so that I can jump off of and get into the ocean once in a while and stick my head down and snorkel along and see what lives there. Not see all the big islands of plastic and the damage done by those ships. Did you like my clip of the stream? Did you see the stream clip I took the other day on my hike?
Yeah, that was incredible. And then you showed me some pictures of your flower and crab trees.
Yeah.
Those are amazing.
Well, it's just
takes your breath away.
Pardon?
It takes your breath away just to look at them.
Oh, I never thought about bringing them on today. It would be difficult. So, time for another Aldo Leopold quote.
Okay.
Man always kills the things he loves. And so we, the pioneers, have killed our wilderness. Some say we had to. Be that as it may, I am glad I shall never be young without wild country to be young in. You and I have been lucky enough to be able to experience wilderness.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that the younger folks today get the same level of being able to go out into the wilderness.
It kind of made me just feel sad in a way right now as I think about it. You're right. How many younger people have never been able to get out and experience nature?
Right. Well, I think a lot of respects is, cell phones. Kids start getting these cell phones, and I find the cell phone to be quite addictive.
I shut mine off.
Well,
I do every day for a little while.
I did not shut mine off today because I was using it. Oh my God, and I lost. So anyway. Where was I? Oh, I was talking about the cell phones and how kids are staring at these darn phones. When I was young, I used to jump on my bicycle, grab my fishing pole, and off I would go. And never, I would tell my mother, that I was going someplace when I lived in the country. I was going to go such and such to go fishing. And then she would call those people up or I would never know that she did all of that until much later when I was older, that she was watching out for me on the road, all these places I went, because she knew everybody. It was
But you felt, did you feel safe going and doing those things? They, our parents, my parents, they felt.
Yeah.
Hey? Yeah, me
they
too.
Don't know
my
the
parents
stuff that
didn't
was
mind me
dangerous
going.
that I did.
We hopped on the bike, me and my two brothers and my sister, and hightailed it out down a dirt road, found a place where there was some bush and went in there. And over a whole summer, we made a fort and nobody seemed to mind or care. We were gone for the whole day. We'd bring lunch. Like Huckleberry Finn, we'd be off. We'd go every day all summer long. And we were out in the bush, just us kids messing around. Sometimes some of our neighborhood friends would join us. And we built up one year. We built a nice fort out of little dead logs that we found. And we brought, a little tea set, and we had everything going on there. It was like so much fun.
Yeah, I would
you didn't have to worry about
stuff by myself. My brother was not into the same stuff I was, and we didn't like each other anyway. And so I would just go. I mean, once in a while, him and I would do stuff together, but for the most part, I would just go, and nobody thought anything of it,
Mm-hmm. No,
I was kind of a loner when I was a kid, and no big deal. I have my own things,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You have a thing, so do I.
So it was kind of a different growing up from what you see kids doing today. I mean, you get out there and, oh my stars, you enjoyed what was around you. You catch snakes, frogs, do things, and it was not bad.
So it occurs to me, how can we help? Yeah, I think about this a lot. How can we make time for us to reconnect with nature in the city? I think we tried to kind of broach that subject. How can we help ourselves remember?
Encourage parks like New York City has Central Park. It's a wonderful way to connect with nature. Spokane has Finch Arboretum and many big parks that are filled with trees and birds and whatnot. Walla Walla has a bird sanctuary where, even though it's a big bird cage, it's a place to go get acquainted. I mean, Lewiston up the road here, when I was going to college up there, we would take our ornithology lab days and walk around town, and our job was to inventory waterfowl. And you go down by the river,
in the city.
Snake River and the Clearwater River are converging in that town. There's a big dike that protects the city, and we'll get 15, 20 different species of birds in
well, that's what hours. I'm trying to say. When you stop and just, we're always so busy running around doing whatever we're doing, but nature is all around, even in the city. If we just take a moment to pause our life for a moment and look around us.
Put a bird feeder up.
Yeah.
Make sure it's far enough away that the kitty cats can't get to it.
Yeah.
So it needs to be higher than 6 feet or so, because I've seen birds up to a low-hanging bird feeder and knock things out of the air. But you know, God, you'd be surprised if you keep that full of food, you will get birds coming in and eating, and they are quite a variety of birds.
I saw blue jays, no, robins finally here in my backyard.
You
Stopped
know, and
by.
if you get a pair of binoculars when you're looking at the robins, you'll see one that's a little bit different, and it'll be a varied thrush. And you can tell, I think, by the orange slit over the eye, they look almost identical to robins, except for they're a different bird. They're slightly different in their coloration. You know,
What are they called?
Huh?
What are they called?
A varied thrush.
Oh,
They're
okay.
the same size, basically. And in my crabapple tree last fall, there was a bunch of robins in there kind of grooming the tree for those little dried up fruits. And I got to looking with my binoculars that I keep sitting there to check birds out. And there was a varied thrush amongst them. And I've seen several around here. You know, I walk down by the river every day when I'm walking my dog, and that's a nature walk for me. You know, and yesterday there was an osprey that circled over my head for a while. There was a couple of mergansers on the river, and I love mergansers. They're just so shy. Almost every day I see a blue heron. There is no reason why we can't connect with nature wherever we live. You know, so I live in a rural town. Yeah, it's a little easier for me, but it's there if you look for it. You know, I've seen those videos that Naya posts, you know, about riding her bicycle in Miami.
Aren't they just
There's a ton
wonderful?
of nature there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a ton of nature there.
And she's just moseying along, taking it all in. I think I even read, or she commented or something in a post at one point or another about kind of going by where all the hustle and bustle is and seeking out quieter places.
Well, yeah. Well, and there's quieter places at every place, you know.
Yeah. Sometimes we just need to.
It's like those peregrine falcons in Manhattan.
Yeah.
They were living on the edge of a building, making a nest, an endangered species trying to adapt to city life. And it's just amazing, you know. Gosh, I remember when you could never see eagles. And last year I saw an eagle on my walk right down there where I was.
We've made so much progress in the last 150 years. You know, there was a time when all these, like the eagles and the peregrine falcons and so many other animals were disappearing, but
back when you and I were kids.
That's right. I remember those days. And
you
they're
know,
coming back.
DDT was the thing that was killing them, and that Rachel Carson wrote that book, The Silent Spring, in 1950, 51, 52, somewhere. And that was the foundation book for environmental movement. You know, that was the start of Earth Day. And then in the late 60s and the 70s, we started establishing wilderness areas and you know, because of the activism that was going on, the social upheaval of the time, because the Cuyahoga River burst into flame in 1967 or something like that, 1968, right in that time period. And so the Clean Water Act, the Clean Air Act were passed. And now we don't pay attention to these progresses that we made back then. You know, so many different things have been circumvented by various administrations for the sake of corporations to continue their blasphemy.
Yeah.
And
Well, nature, there's a lot of, we have to acknowledge the past and learn from it. And I think we are. I think, we're having this conversation right now. Would there have been a conversation like this where we thought consciously about the earth, about the land, about the animals and the plants and everything? Would we have concluded that in our thoughts in the same way 50 years ago? It wasn't even on the radar, probably.
Well, 50 years ago is when the Clean Water and Clean Air Act were established. So yes, I've been having this conversation for a long time. But we got kind of apathetic about it in the 80s and 90s. And then, things started changing the other way. And now the rivers are not as healthy as they once were.
Yeah.
There's progress made in some areas.
And it's not saying one step forward, two steps back.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, we got to we got to try hard to put two steps forward and one step back.
I would go with that. I could handle that. It's like we flooded here in this town 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Or a year ago. And so last summer the river had moved some in some of the wider areas where I walk. And so the Army Corps of Engineers came in and then removed all the large woody debris. They rechannelized the river. And to me, it was heartbreaking to see them do that, because to me, they're killing this living thing. And I talked to one of my friends that still works for the tribe. And he says, well, they just consider it to be a water transport system.
That's all. It's not a live, breathing ecosystem.
So then here a week or so ago, here's all this heavy equipment back on the river's edge, and they're scraping, they're scraping dirt, they're scraping the banks away, and it's just so
shaping it and controlling it, and
yeah,
like why are they doing that? Because it doesn't look good.
I can't figure out, because they just did it last summer and we didn't have high water this year. I mean, right now we should, is our high water, and there's just not that much water, and it's just wrong. Some friend of mine said, I was walking with her the other day, and she said, oh, she was so glad they cleaned up along the river. And I'm going, what? You're kidding. She made me cry, because and because it just breaks my heart when they rip that shit up off from along the river. My heart is in that river. My heart is in all these waters. Yeah. If you stand someplace beside a river, and I don't care which one it is, and you can follow that waterway to wherever you want to go on the planet. Like at one time I wrote a story about standing at the Clearwater confluence, and I traced that waterway back to my home grounds by water, and that was my story. So you go down the Snake River.
I'm just realizing we have something kind of in common. I never really thought about it. I was a surveyor. I did engineering surveys for engineers, and so they could design lots of different things. I did a survey once for a fish habitat for speckled trout. A flood came and took out this little stream, and it was through a residential area, and it happened because of the residential area and the way they direct water and think of it as but it's a trout stream, and our Ontario environmental laws made them restore it. So I surveyed it for them. I remember like going along and trying to retrace the original path of the meandering stream so I could draw it for the engineers and for the environmentalists who were going to try and recreate it, re-engineer the stream, if you will. That's one thing that crossed my mind as we've been talking. I think about environmental studies I've had to go and do for job sites that I did a survey for. Like I map out the land, a drainage hydrology study. Where did the water come from? Where did it start? Where is its origin? What's the floodplain area of all the water that comes into our city? And the engineers are only thinking about controlling it, steering it, directing it. For me, when I went upstream to its source, it became almost like traveling back to be with Creator. I remember feeling very profoundly when I got to the beginning where the first little ditch was, that eventually became that creek that turned into a river that went through our city. I remember getting up there and I remember just standing there and just looking around and going, I feel like I'm looking at the beginning of creation here. And we had to do that. But that's a process I think we have to go through back to our roots, right? Finding our way to see those things that we can't see. And I know it's different for everybody. I have something. I think you said it was all right if I I was talking to Christy and Casey today. And I always like to try and connect the dots, so to speak. Since we were talking a lot about making a quote, I thought your two moderators that are always working diligently in the background there, helping you with the show, that we should acknowledge we're all trying in our own different ways to create a better planet. And it can be in more ways than just protesting with a placard, And so I saw Christy shared a quote the other day on Facebook, and she put two things posted that she read, like quotes from somebody who wrote something, and then she made her own. This is something that our sister Christy wrote, and I wanted to share it with you all. And it's kind of like a meditation or a prayer, if you will. Dear God, please help us find peace, love, compassion, and understanding for each other. Please help us all to listen to each other, to find compromise, to agree on the facts and the truth, and work together to find the best solution to the biggest challenges we face. Please help us all appreciate and celebrate the diversity of all people, places, and things. Please, God, help us. Amen. When I read that, I thought, wow,
nice. Very nice.
It's so nice. It really touched me. And, it's not just about appreciating and celebrating the diversity of all people. She even says it here, places and things, the world around us. Our earth is so abundantly diverse. Nature always finds a way. And I see her acknowledging it in her own kind, little, generous way in this prayer she likes to think of each day. She sets that intention for the day. We go out with that intention, and we can't help but be a positive impact on the world around us. And that's something I want to share. So kudos to Christy for that. I keep it now. I've printed it out here so I can read it myself and include it in my daily prayers. Maybe not every day, but when I need to be reminded of kindness and love, I read that.
Oh,
And oh yeah, there was a picture that went along with it. She showed a picture of a sunset, or maybe it's a sunrise, and
beautiful.
It's only black and white, but this is Chrissy's picture on her post, and
I think I saw that one in color.
Yeah, I only have a black and white printer, so I just wanted to be able to show it and say, give her her credit for the picture and for the words. Anyways, that's that. And one other thing I wanted to share, and I don't have a picture for it, but what did I have? No, I don't. Oh well, I guess I can't. I wanted to share. So our friend Casey, your moderator, God love her. She's just an amazing cartoonist. And she's been sharing cartoons, but to me, they look like superheroes. And she's a bit of an activist in her cartoons she depicts, but in the most kindest way. All of the characters in her cartoons seem to have a very distinct personality, and there's a lot of truth in what she shares in those cartoons. So I don't know, between those two right there and you and me and everybody else I've met here, like there's so many great, there's such diversity. I think about the LGBT umbrella and how diverse we are. And then I think about our Mother Earth, diversity of nature. And it just makes me, I cry a little bit sometimes when I think about all the things that are going on around our world and how we don't stop as people. But then again, I'm an eternal optimist, so I think we can change. And we start with a conversation with Regina here today.
Well, thanks. And so let's take a look at the chat. We have not paid any attention to the chat at all. I've gotten onto my soapbox and
I don't really know how you can keep track of the chats. If I'm reading all the chats, I get lost in it. I wouldn't even be like.
Well, when you're talking, I'm kind of looking. It's like my friend Marty always says. It's hard to do all of this at the same time and be part of the conversation too.
I'm glad I don't have to keep track of it.
So let's back up here a ways, and I don't.
I'll admit it, I've read a few of the comments, but I kind of also trust everybody's finding their own
Here's
thing.
One in Seattle. There's a typo there. There's an apartment building that has areas on rooftops that encourages birds to nest, and that's kind of what we were talking about. And then Casey goes,
"Yes, that's awesome, Holly."
And then Casey was talking about Boise, which isn't really very far from where I'm at. I just came through there last week, about 5 hours from here. And
sorry, Casey, yeah. I meant to photocopy a picture of your cartoon, and I didn't do it. So. Oh wow!
And then we're a little homage to Joni Mitchell and
pave paradise and put up a parking lot. Yes, Louise.
So, oh, Simone, that is a great line in a song.
It is a great line in a song. Or maybe she's talking about something else. I don't know.
Oh no. So yeah, the earthquakes are
Well,
happening, as you were saying.
it looks like everybody's kind of including their own versions of a discussion and conversation amongst
Right.
each other in chats. And they're feeding off of sort of what we're talking about or trying to. I don't think we're going to have a solution to anything, but that's ongoing discussion and
But
little things we
we
do.
don't. We're just citizens of the world,
Yeah.
and we're borrowing this planet not from the generations that's past, but from the generations of the future.
Yeah.
And we need to be saying stuff, and this is why it's so important to continue to be a unified community. Unity amongst the communities is so important, lest the squabbles tear us apart. And I firmly believe that. And because we together can do what I cannot do alone. And so that's my whole plea for unification of peoples, of each other, of our trans community, our local communities that we live in. Let's bring them together. Let's not tear them apart. Free range beef happens around here. The trouble is that the pickings are so scarce here.
Mm-hmm.
And then stem cell beef, I have not heard of that.
I see in the comments and chats, there seems to be a consensus. The buck stops with each of us. We each start with ourselves, eh?
Here's our friend Casey. I like this. Yes, it does, but it has to start somewhere. Someone has to say to themselves, today I'm going to start doing this. We need it. Amen. Yeah. Amen.
Yes, absolutely.
Sarah, the city of trees is in Idaho. It's the capital of the state of Idaho. And it's, like I say, about 5 hours south of me and east a little bit. It's on the edge of the mountain time zone. I used to live there at one time. Beautiful area. Austin stores provide cloth bags. Not all Texas cities have that. I know we don't even have the option of paper bags sometimes here.
Before the pandemic, there was a lot of stores locally in Thunder Bay, my town, that were slowly doing away with all the plastic and everything and going to reusable carry bags. Like, if you wanted to get like plastic bags to put your groceries in, you had to like ask for them. They wouldn't even give them to you. They expect you to bring reusable ones.
Right. Well, they don't. Apparently, like in Portland, they don't want you using reusable bags. I like that. Thanks, Simone. Good to see you today, too, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I did not know that. That's a thing of the future.
Exactly right, Christy. People are being encouraged to do it. And, so it's trickling. You'll hear that saying trickle down effect. Well, it's trickling up. Where enough of us make enough noise, little old ladies like us. And, the bigger people up there and the ones that hold the purse strings and control it, they hear us and they adjust. And if we get loud enough, there's enough of us, we add up to a big number.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
And we can instigate change.
So we need to start packing our reusable bags. I use them for packing coffee around when I'm making deliveries. And
Yeah. Yeah, we have to pick something and just try and do it. And the awareness
oh my
comes
God.
from the doing.
So if somebody says something really profound or there's questions or anything, now is the time to ask, because kind of like to be done in another 15 minutes or so.
We've
What's
already
this?
gone
When
through an
will
hour and a
Regina
half and we didn't even say
sponsor
anything yet.
a trans camping trip? Wouldn't that be fun? Is do a camping trip someplace,
Yeah.
down
God.
like in Skamania, the southern just north of the Columbia River and the Cascades up by Mount Adams, or what is the ice caves, the McClellan ice caves? That's a cool area up there. Trout Lake, they got a bunch of UFO stuff up there too.
Well, we have UFOs and stuff like that in Northern Ontario too.
Well, we could come back there for a camping trip. Shall we go, Simone?
I'll join you all. I have a
Heck,
pub
you're
tent
leading
and a
the
dirt bike.
expedition. You're leading the expedition.
I have a pub tent and a dirt bike, and I'll lead you all on the trail somewhere.
Oh, I ain't doing no dirt bike. Joking dolphins. You mean choking dolphins?
Yeah, choking. She probably meant choking. I'm sure she meant choking the dolphins in the trails. And yeah, I saw a fox with a piece of plastic over his head once, and his head sticking out.
I remember for life. I still remember that old Broadway 666. Oh God, no, I don't. I don't really remember. Yeah, Holly. Who was it? Where was that?
Oh, Sapone have trouble with phone number.
Great park with ducks and geese and like watch it walking along. There would be these seep ponds, and you would see northern pintails, wood ducks. You'd see all these different ducks in those waters passing through. It was just fabulous.
Well, we've been watching the geese fly by for the last month on their way north, eh? Yeah.
Oh, Casey's talking about Julia Davis Park there. That was right next to Boise State University. That's a cool area. Oh my gosh. Oh, somebody's talking about a rufous-sided towhee. Holly, have you seen rufous-sided towhees around here? I had one that came to my bird feeder in Patch.
No, I haven't. I'm going to write that down. I got to see, what does it look?
They're really a shy bird. They're pretty good size, and they should live in your type of habitat, with deciduous trees and whatnot. I bet they're more predominant there than they are here.
I don't know.
They're pretty shy though, and I've only seen that one coming into my feeder there upriver from Lewiston.
There's so many variety of birds I can't really identify. That's what makes it I might have seen one.
Well, you haven't seen it unless you know what you see.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, okay.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Good one.
So there's Teresa. Hi, Teresa. How are you doing today?
Hello, Teresa.
Really? Here in our town? Well, that's the end. So let's go back to.
Well,
did you read the quote? You didn't, did you? Or you were calling Christy and Casey's stuff your quote?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So should I do my little spiritual reading and
It's getting close to it's an hour and a half already. I don't even know. You need to do another quote before you wrap it up.
so do you want just a little short environmental quote, or do you want me to read something from
Oh,
Lassois here? Hey, sweetie.
no, it's your show. I think you gotta do an environmental one, but that's just me.
Oh, okay. One
Because
more.
I started off with a Mother Earth song, and I think you got to bring everything home. Because of your background, you need an environmental quote to close it all up for everybody. Bring us home in an environmentally sound way. I don't feel fearless. I read somebody said Lara's fearless something or other. I just kind of got my emotions on my sleeve out there every day.
So here's one that is really kind of short, and it's just so touching to me. And then I'll go on to something else. But my dear Estella, the night is so wonderful that it almost hurts. I would like to be out in our canyon and see the wild clematis in the moonlight. Wouldn't you?
Yeah. You got me like imagining it, reading. You said that so blissfully. God.
To me that just is so touching.
It
So
is.
touching.
I almost cried. Just like you got me imagining it.
Yeah.
You have a way with reading. It's wonderful. Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
You got one more.
One more. And
Okay.
it kind of comes from my farming agrarian background. There are two spiritual dangers in not owning a farm. One is the danger of supporting that breakfast comes from the grocery, and the other that heat comes from the furnace. And so as we go through life trying to stay warm and fed, we have to keep in mind where our nourishment comes from, because it comes from this planet that we're on. And so we need to honor the foods and the trees and the places that keep us warm, the things that keep us warm. Whether it's building windmills or solar panels or harvesting a tree to keep, us warm in climates. It's so important to honor that part of the planet too. The first foods need to be honored.
Yeah.
The food that feeds us is so important. There's not going to be wild animals to feed us. We need to figure it out, but we also need to figure out how we can eat and still have wild.
There needs to be some balance in all of that.
Balance.
You need to recreate that balance. And the only way I've ever found to do it is to stop and smell the roses for a little while. Realize that food doesn't come from a grocery store. It comes from our interaction with nature. I don't believe for a second that nature doesn't mind sharing. It teaches us all about sharing. But, once removed, we don't see from the grocery store to where it came from. That's the disconnect, right?
Right. Well, it's like you know, when that first salmon would return from the ocean to its natal stream, the original people, the indigenous peoples, would catch that salmon briefly and turn it loose again.
Mm-hmm.
Because without one salmon, you know, it was an honor, you know, that needed to be passed on so that the fish would always be there to return.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I'm trying to say. You got to let the first one go so that there's more in the future. You've always got to be thinking about the future when you're harvesting things. You don't want to take everything.
The giveaway. It's
Yeah.
It's a fundamental part of the culture, the teaching to be humble, to be compassionate, to share.
Yeah.
And realizing our place in this world as, you know, we're not the whole, we're a part of the whole. It's a circle we live
So
in.
one way we could contribute back
We
to our
contribute,
planet is to be
we
less
share.
greedy and to start sharing more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's the greed, the economical impact that has driven our planet to this point of extinction.
Well, it's a money-based system, right? It's not
Right.
really about sharing. It's about having control over everything. It's
Right.
up,
And we need to go
it's
back to
need to
that
go back to
sharing,
that.
gifting person, you know, type
Well,
of culture.
when you just take and take and take without giving back, what happens? Our earth is out of balance right now. I saw in the comments earlier how someone was commenting on, look at all the, well, I don't know what they were really saying. I just saw it flashing by, you know, earthquakes and volcanoes and tornadoes and floods and all these environmental disasters. Well, yeah, they are disasters for a lot of us. But the truth is, Earth doesn't doesn't have a reason to hate anybody. The Earth isn't retaliating for our misbehaving here on Earth. The Earth is trying to find balance within itself. And that's why it has to do the things that that happen on this earth. At least that's how I've been taught to understand it. That Earth doesn't hate you; it's just adjusting. You know, we take oil out of the ground and we leave a pressureless. We redistribute the pressure, and we have an impact there, and the Earth adjusts. It may not be in a good way for us, and I certainly don't know, you know, if we'll survive all of this out of balance life we're living, but it doesn't really matter. The earth is going to reset itself, and we'll have to live with it. We'll find out how human we really are. We're not so permanent. The earth, the rocks, the trees, the animals, they've been here long before us.
And they'll probably be here.
They probably outlive us.
Let's hope. Let's hope. So let's wrap this up. Thank you so much, Lara.
I love being here and chatting. I feel like we just had a personal conversation for an hour and a half.
Well, I kind of feel this very same way. So thank you so much, and we'll have to have you come back. And real quickly, bye, Sarah. Have a good day. Oh gosh, it's night there. You're probably going to bed. Mm-hmm. So anyway, our friend in Belgium. So anyway, okay. I'm going to take you out of the room.
Send me back to my room, and I'll say goodbye here.
Okay. All right.
Bye. Ta-ta.
So anyway, there wraps up our show today, and thank you all so much for being here. I had a marvelous time, great conversation today, and you all take care. Love you, and Make a difference if you can find a way. We'll see you later, and take care. I'll send you out with a little outro thing that I put together, and if I can find it. And life is good, and peace be with you. Love you all. Bye-bye.